found this, as to no surprise, the economic cost of the Israeli occupation for the Palestinian people, the unrealized oil and natural gas potential. Geologists and natural resources economists have confirmed that the occupied Palestinian territory lies above sizable reservoirs of oil and natural gas wealth. In Area C of the occupied West Bank and the Mediterranean coast off the Gaza Strip, however, occupation continues to prevent Palestinians from developing their energy fields so as to exploit and benefit from such assets. As such, the Palestinian people have been denied the benefits of using this natural resource to finance socio-economic development and meet their need for energy. The accumulated losses are estimated in the billions of dollars. The longer Israel prevents Palestinians from exploiting their own oil and natural gas reserves, the greater the opportunity cost and the greater the total cost of the occupation borne by Palestinians become. This study identifies and assesses existing and potential Palestinian oil and natural gas reserves that could be exploited for the benefit of the Palestinian people, which Israel is either preventing them from exploiting or is exploiting without due regard for international law. Well, Israel would never do anything like that. Identifying and quantifying the economic loss to the Palestinian people of being denied their natural right to develop and exploit their natural resources extends beyond oil and natural gas resources. The focus of this study, however, is confined to these two resources in light of their high value and their critical importance in potentially meeting basic Palestinian needs for energy and export revenues. Also critical are the new oil and natural gas finds in the Eastern Mediterranean that Israel has begun to exploit for its own benefit. Oh, they must be anti-Semites. How dare they say that? While these resources may be considered shared resources, whereby the oil and natural gas exist in common pools, the use of and benefits from these resources should be governed by the same rules and norms that apply to other common resources. The disputes and tensions involving oil and natural gas cannot be separated from the political context that surrounds them, and the fact that the period when the natural gas discoveries were made coincided with a number of important political developments in the region. The political context intersects at many crucial junctures with the oil and natural gas resource developments, and thus complicates an already complex political situation. Ignoring these complexities can only rob the analysis of many crucial determinants. Several defining characteristics of oil and natural gas separate them from other natural resources. 1. They do not follow political borders and can therefore coexist with and straddle multiple national borders. 2. They take several millions of years to accumulate underground, such that the current generations of owners are not necessarily either the only or the legitimate owners. 3. They can be stored at zero cost for decades, centuries, even millenniums. Typically, their economically optimal exploitation depends in part on whether the interest rate exceeds the expected price increase. 4. They may be part of the global commons, where efficiency and equity considerations require their unitization and common exploitation. 5. They are non-renewable resources, any exploitation of which at any time reduces what is available for future generations. The new discoveries of oil and natural gas in the Levant Basin, amounting to 122 trillion cubic feet of natural gas at a net value of $453 billion in 2017 prices, and 1.7 billion barrels of recoverable oil at a net value of about $71 billion, offer an opportunity to distribute and share a total of about $524 billion among the different parties, in addition to the many intangible but substantive advantages of energy security and cooperation among longtime belligerents. They can also potentially be a source of additional conflict and violence if individual parties exploit these resources without due regard for the fair share of others. What could be a source of wealth and opportunities could prove disastrous if this common resource is exploited individually and exclusively without due regard for international law and norms. And, you could read that paragraph. I'll read the next one down. The exploitation of Palestinian natural resources, including oil and gas, by the occupying power imposes on the Palestinian people enormous costs that continue to escalate as the occupation remains in effect. This is not only contrary to international law, but also in violation of natural justice and moral law. Not according to, the Christian Zionist dumbasses. To date, the real and opportunity costs of the occupation exclusively in the area of oil and natural gas have accumulated to tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars. So, I'm sure BB wouldn't have any interest in this, in the oil and natural gas over there. Found this interesting. This is in the past, of course. The Prime Minister, an ex-Prime Minister that actually got assassinated in Israel, happened to be replaced by Netanyahu after his assassination. Labor Chief Mike Eli, probably pronounced that wrong, whatever. Rabin was assassinated with Netanyahu's cooperation. Speaking ahead of anniversary of ex-PM's killing, Minister singles out Likud leader and Ben-Gvir for roles in incitement. Likud sources, she's desperate to cross the set threshold. Labour Party Chief Merav Michaeli on Thursday accused opposition leader Benjamin Netanyahu of being complicit in the assassination of former Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. Speaking at a conference organized by the Yisrael Hayom newspaper ahead of Saturday night's memorial ceremony, marking 27 years since the 1995 assassination, Michaeli also singled out religious Zionism Otzma Yehudit's MK Itamar Ben-Gvir. Quote, Yitzhak Rabin was murdered in a political assassination. He was murdered in a political assassination with the cooperation of Benjamin Netanyahu and Itamar Ben-Gvir, unquote, she said. Interesting. Interesting accusation. Netanyahu has been repeatedly accused by the left over the years of encouraging incitement that led to Rabin's killing, or at the very least of contributing to the incendiary political climate that led to the murder. He has rejected such claims as attempts to distort the historical truth, I'm sure. You would say that. Ben-Gvir, the rising star of the current election campaign, whose religious Zionism party is seen heading for some 14 seats in the 120-member Knesset, first captured national attention when he was filmed as a teen boasting about stealing an emblem from Rabin's car a short time before the assassination. Quote, "We got to his car and we'll get to him too," unquote, he told a reporter at the time in televised comments. It's him right there. Itamar Ben-Gvir seen holding up an ornament from former Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin's car in an October 1995 interview. In response to Michaeli's accusation, sources close to Netanyahu told Channel 12 that she is, quote, doing everything to clear the Knesset threshold. Nothing is sacred to her, not even Rabin. She's trying to delegitimize the entire right-wing camp, unquote. Ben-Gvir said, quote, Michaeli's dangerous incitement repeatedly crosses red lines and legitimizes harming me. It's not for nothing that the level of threats against me has risen recently, and I think it's Knesset, isn't it? Yeah, Knesset Guard has had to increase its security for me, unquote. Rabin was murdered on November 4th, 1995 by Yigal Amir, an extremist Jew who was opposed to the Oslo Accords and the handing over of control of parts of the West Bank to the Palestinians as a part of a landmark peace agreement. Gee, what do you know? That's interesting. There he is right there in Washington, D.C. on November 16, 1993 in Washington. In the weeks before the assassination, Netanyahu, then head of the opposition, and other senior Likud members attended a right-wing political rally in Jerusalem where protesters branded Rabin a traitor, murderer, and Nazi for signing a peace agreement with the Palestinians earlier that year. He also marched in a Ra'anana, so how you can read it, protest as demonstrators behind him carried a mock coffin. Netanyahu has regularly rebuffed the allegations he ignored inflammatory rhetoric that incited Rabin's murder. Netanyahu has insisted that it was also his obligation to express his opposition to the Oslo Accords. Quote, I asserted my right to express a different position. It's not only my right, but also my duty, unquote, Netanyahu said in 2020. I vehemently opposed the calls of traitor directed toward Rabin, but I thought he was wrong and mistaken in the direction he took. It was an error to make peace with the enemy, unquote. It's just Hamas, right? But this Oslo agreement would have made the life possibly a little more easier for the Palestinians. Possibly, just saying. I mean, I don't fully know. I mean, so notice that he refers to the Palestinians as the enemy, as the race as a whole. Make peace with the enemy. Well, how loving. Kelly also claimed Thursday that Ben-Gvir does not regret his actions in the lead up to the assassination, an accusation the MK denies, and that the National Day of Remembrance for Rabin might be canceled in the future if Netanyahu is reelected. Of course. None of those guys would have anything to do with something like that. Israel doesn't have any history, or no governments that are U.S. approved don't have any history of doing anything evil. Likud MK Yoav Gallant said in a statement, quote, I condemn Merav Michaeli's irresponsible remarks. I call on her to retract them and apologize. Shame, unquote. Likud MK Shlomo Karhai tweeted, not for the first time, that Michael's soul is black. Michaeli's Labor Party is organizing a Saturday night memorial ceremony in Jerusalem Zion Square, though even Rabin's family has announced that they will not be attending this year because they see it as a political event. Michaeli invited other party heads to the anti-Netanyahu bloc to address the rally as well, but it was unclear whether any of them would attend. Set to speak along with Michaeli is former Foreign Minister Zibi Livni. I am terrible at pronouncing those names. I apologize. Yeah, he was the 5th Prime Minister of Israel at 2100 hours and 30 minutes at the end of a rally in support of the Oslo Accords at the Kings of Israel Square in Tel Aviv. The assassin, an Israeli ultranationalist named Yigal Amir, radically opposed Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin's peace initiative, particularly the signing of the Oslo Accords. There's his family, his funeral. The assassination of Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin was the culmination of an anti-violence rally in support of the Oslo peace process. Rabin was disparaged personally by right-wing conservatives and Likud leaders who perceived the peace process as an attempt to forfeit the occupied territories and capitulation to Israel's enemies. Let's look this up. They were a pair of agreements between Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization, the Oslo I Accord signed in D.C. in 1993, and the Oslo II Accord signed in Taba, Egypt in 1995. They marked the start of the Oslo process, a peace process aimed at achieving a peace treaty based on Resolution 242 and Resolution 338 of the United Nations Security Council, and at fulfilling the, quote, right of the Palestinian people to self-determination, unquote. Whoa, that's pretty evil. The Oslo process began after secret negotiations in Oslo, Norway, resulting in both the recognition of Israel by the PLO and the recognition of by Israel of the PLO as the representative of the Palestinian people and as a partner in bilateral negotiations. Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin left with American President Bill Clinton middle, and Palestinian political leader Yasser Arafat right at the White House in 1993. Yeah, probably all three, or at least Clinton and Arafat were probably, I know Clinton was a Mason and involved in, of course, the Illuminati, but Arafat, I think I might have seen a few pictures of him giving out, some the secret society hand sign shit. But we know that most of these puppet leaders of these nations belong to either these secret societies or are, controlled by these organizations. Among the notable outcomes of the Oslo Accords was the creation of the Palestinian National Authority, which was tasked with the responsibility of conducting limited Palestinian self-governance over parts of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and the international acknowledgement of the PLO as Israel's partner in permanent status negotiations about any remaining issues revolving around the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Bilateral dialogue stems from questions related to the international border between Israel and a future Palestinian state. Negotiations for the subject are centered around Israeli settlements, status of Jerusalem, Israel's maintenance and control over security following the establishment of Palestinian autonomy, and the Palestinian right of return. The Oslo Accords did not create a definite Palestinian state. A large portion of the Palestinian population, including various Palestinian militant groups, staunchly opposed the Oslo Accords. Palestinian American philosopher Edward Said described them as a, quote, Palestinian Versailles, like the Versailles Treaty that Germany had to sign after World War I. Far-right Israelis were also opposed to the Oslo Accords. Rabin was assassinated in 1995 by a right-wing, we already read that, for signing them. What's funny about this is we know the Palestinians opposed this. It was still a short end of the stick for them, but take note how extreme these puke-face extremists are, where, giving them even just a tiny, tiny scrap from the table, if anybody signs an agreement that gives these people even a teeny bit of anything, off with their head. I mean, how dare they take a moment to even breathe? How dare they breathe and live, those evil, evil Palestinians? Amalek. Blech. But anyways, sorry. It's, sometimes you just don't know whether to laugh at it all or just kind of say fuck it, because, it's just, withdrawing from any Jewish land was heresy. I think I might have, thought I had the article. So, nope. I thought I saved it, but I guess I didn't. I'm just getting more into Netanyahu and his statements regarding, So we know that this, far right, far left, far right, they're at the top, just like our political process, just like our political, culture here in the U.S. is totally controlled at the top, and it's just a divide and conquer thing. But Netanyahu funding Hamas. I know I got a little bit into that with the next video. Why Netanyahu helped fund Hamas and how that backfired for Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu led Israel didn't create Frankenstein's monster. It for sure helped nourish it. This is why Israel funneled Qatari money to Gaza as Hamas lulled it into a false sense of security, and its citizens paid a heavy price for the miscalculation. The Israeli government channeled Qatari money into Gaza to undercut the Palestinian Authority and prop up Hamas, say experts. Israel has pledged to destroy Hamas. It is, however, ironical that Israel's government under Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu consciously channelized funds to Hamas and helped it gain the strength and power that it has today. But why did Israel do so? And how did its calculations go awry? Netanyahu's government worked with the singular purpose of trying to prevent the formation of a Palestinian state, according to experts. It also sought to buy peace by giving Gaza residents a glimpse of a better life by funneling money and providing work permits. The issue of funneling Qatari money to Hamas by the Israeli government was mentioned in public by Saudi Arabia's former intelligence chief, Prince Turki al-Faisal, in an address on October 20th. Al-Faisal's remarks came after Hamas terrorists on October 7th butchered over 1,000 Israelis and took over 200 hostages. Al-Faisal's statement surprised many as people couldn't make sense of the contradiction. Why would Israel funnel funds to Hamas in the first place? If Israel didn't directly create a Frankenstein's monster, it for sure helped nourish it. Bid to thwart creation of a Palestinian state? That the Netanyahu government has been working against the formation of an independent Palestinian state has been clear for years. The creation of Israeli settlements deep within the West Bank negates the scope of a two-state solution to the Israel-Palestine conflict. So, the West Bank is controlled by the Palestinian Authority, which is led by Mahmoud Abbas. Gaza, the other Palestinian territory, has been under Hamas's control since the 2006 elections. Hamas ousted the Palestinian Authority's Fatah in that election. That Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was against the Palestinian state was reported as recently as July by the Jerusalem Post. Quote, Palestinian hopes of establishing a sovereign state must be eliminated, unquote, Netanyahu told members of a parliament committee in a closed-door meeting, according to the Jerusalem Post. Netanyahu's remarks came as he was discussing plans for a scenario that did not have Mahmoud Abbas at the helm of the Palestinian Authority. Netanyahu said that Israel needed the Palestinian Authority and shouldn't let it collapse. That is the fine balancing that Israel under Netanyahu has been trying to do for years now. Keep power centers between the West Bank and Gaza separate. Neither let the Palestinian Authority get strong nor allow it to collapse, and more importantly, prop up Hamas. Quote, the idea was to prevent Abbas or anyone else in the Palestinian Authority's West Bank government from advancing toward the establishment of a Palestinian state, unquote, writes journalist Tal Schneider in the Times of Israel. Quote, thus, amid this bid to impair Abbas, Hamas was upgraded from a mere terror group to an organization with which Israel held indirect negotiations via Egypt, and one that was allowed to receive infusions of cash from abroad, writes Schneider. Hamas has several sources of funds, but money from Qatar is the mainstay. Gas-rich Qatar has been given hundreds of millions of dollars in aid to Gaza residents since 2014. At one point, Qatar spent $30 million per month to help operate Gaza's lone power plant and support needy families and officials in the Hamas-run government, according to a Reuters report from October 2023. The Qatari money, earlier transferred via the Palestinian Authority, is now routed via Israel. Qatar transfers the money electronically to Israel. Israel and the UN officials carry the cash over the border to Gaza in suitcases. Quote, Qatari aid to the Gaza Strip is fully coordinated with Israel, the UN, and the U.S., unquote. Reuters quoted a Qatari government official as saying, needy families in Gaza then receive the cash and sign a document, a copy of which goes to Israel, Qatar, and the UN. Other than the funds funneled by Israel, Hamas uses a global financing network for support from charities and friendly nations, passing cash through Gaza tunnels or via cryptocurrencies to bypass international curbs. Iran, Israel's bitter enemy, too funds and arms Hamas. Quote, whoever is against the Palestinian state should be for transferring the funds to Gaza, because maintaining a separation between the Palestinian Authority and the West Bank and Hamas in Gaza helps prevent the establishment of a Palestinian state, unquote. The Jerusalem Post quoted Prime Minister Netanyahu as saying in 2019. He argued that it was better for Israel to serve as the pipeline to ensure the funds don't go to terrorism. Professional liars at best, right? Israel believed that by channeling the funds to Gaza, it would cut off the Palestinian Authority and the money would go to the people, not into terror activities against it. So, yeah, again, this is a downplaying kind of thing. It's, Hamas was a creation of theirs. And behind all these nations lie the New World Order. Hamas just being a boogeyman organization to, help bring about the chaos they need. But now that we know what's going on with the current war, massacre, genocide over there, and everything abroad and here at home, why is all this happening again? Seems to be going well into line with the article I have read on here numerous times. I go through their website to show anybody who didn't see the videos that I've already read from this article here that I'm about to show you. I like to show this because I like to show that this is an authentic article put out by an initiate of this order here. And Rosicrucian Fraternity, first instituted in Germany in 1614. Brought together into one organization various associations of individuals known as the Hermetists, Pythagoreans, Magi, Platonists, Gnostics, Alchemists, and Paracelsians, or whatever. The Rosicrucian Fraternity existed in America prior to the First American Revolution in 1774. The Great Council of Three The fraternity's ultimate governing body was composed of Ben Franklin, George Clymer, Thomas Paine. Thomas Paine was later succeeded by Lafayette, who, like Ben Franklin, was a member of the Paris Rosicrucian Lodge Humanidad. In 1842, the Great Council of Three was revitalized by the novelist George Lippard, who rewrote the exoteric ritual, giving it a patriot Christian basis. During the Civil War, this great council was composed of Paschal Beverly Randolph, General Ethan Allen Hitchcock, and Abraham Lincoln. And here are the members, some of our founding fathers. They claim Abraham Lincoln was one. There's also a little bit of evidence that Lincoln was also a Freemason as well. But you go to a link from this website here, and you go to Veracity. Why is this stuff happening? It seems to be going along with this article they put out. The coming American invasion. Can't overdo this one. And I suggest to you, whoever hasn't seen this, when you're reading this, remember, they're going to mix in bullshit. They're going to mix in fiction. They're going to mix in their religious mumbo jumbo. At the same time, they love to tell the truth. They love to tell us what they're doing through these kind of means. They like to tell us what they're going to do. So that way, I've heard from people, and this could be considered theoretical. We don't know exactly why. But we can guess that since they believe in, they do have laws that they go by, spiritual laws that they talk about. They do believe, may possibly have heard that if they don't give us a heads up in veiled symbolism and, whatever, through these kind of means, there'll be a negative karmic reaction against them. So this frees them of that karmic load, they believe. So I've heard that, and I'm not 100% if that's true, but so when we're reading this, remember that. They're gonna reveal little bits of truth about this coming staged Armageddon agenda, this staged World War III, and that the adepts, the 1,000 points of light, the illumined ones, are going to be doing their best to bring this about behind the scenes. If you just keep that in mind and you develop that discernment to separate that from their bullshit, this is a very, very juicy set of articles to read to show us what exactly is on their agenda, their main agenda, and that's in staging this Armageddon, staging this World War III scenario gradually. At least it's one of their big ones, one of their ones that if they can't get their New World Order, if they can't get it through our consent, and too many people are, opposing it, they will do what I have a feeling that possibly may be down the road here soon, which is staging something that we really don't want to see. Reading snippets from this article, though. This is talking about the 9/11 attacks. This was put out 15 years ago. Remember that. With the recent attack on American soil, Beverly Hall and the Fraternitas Rosicruci are now entering a new phase in their history. Prior to the establishment of Beverly Hall, the Fraternitas Rosicruci did not have a perpetual temporal center. This was purposely done, they say in this article here, to help keep its special secret nature more secure. Example, right there. Very suspect wording right there. What special secret nature? We know that don't sound good, at least to us. However, in the latter half of the 19th century, a new avatar was born who became known as Min-Isis. This is where they go along with probably their bullshit. He came to bring to the advanced souls of the world a new dispensation, a new age, one based not on faith alone, in other words, Christianity, but on personal responsibility. To prevent the possible deification that had greatly weakened the message of his earlier spiritual brother, the man from Nazareth, Jesus, he did not make himself known to the public, but confined his message to the written word. Manisis, their coming avatar, was well aware of George Washington's vision, they say, and read this paragraph, pause and read that. And Beverly Hall was created not only to teach and guide those who want to survive the tribulations ahead, but also to serve as models and inspirations for the Reconstruction. And they use that same language, the globalist type guys, during the World War I and World War II era. There's a period of destruction and then Reconstruction, so these were all gradual big steps, World War I, World War II, and to really slowly and gradually get their world government, new world order going. And now they're climaxing or consummating that new world order with this possible Armageddon, staged Armageddon that they want to do. So we are now at a time in our history when our nation is being managed by active celestial forces above. Yeah, I'll let you guess what that means, of course. If the decisions of those in power seem unreasonable, it is because they are, but they are also necessary to bring about a world situation. Their staged Armageddon. And all the Manisis Chronicles stuff, it's probably just a bunch of half-truth, disinformation bullshit for the lower initiate dupes. You can still purchase that book, I think, on eBay or Amazon. So God said it's kind of spendy, I think. But just keep in mind, as Albert Pike said, only the adepts are given the truth of their orders and the truth of the symbols and everything else. It's reserved for the adepts. Me, the lower level dupes, have to discern what all this shit is about, because they're not going to tell us the full truth. As you will read in the Manisis Chronicles, the three momentous events of our time will be the invasion of the U.S., the revolt of the American people. So that's in the plans here. Second American Revolution against the established order because of the obvious betrayal of their responsibilities by this establishment. That is why you have all the controlled opposition shills, coming out in the open, trying to start this rising up. Not saying that we shouldn't rise up, but most of the people that are rising up, they're relying on these Alex Joneses and these others to lead them into this rising up, and we know where they usually take them at. Cataclysmic earth changes, and we're already seeing a lot of these earth changes, but a lot of it's engineered by them through the geoengineering of our skies. I show that on my YouTube channel. The weather modification, the other weather modification warfare that's going on to convince us of these things. To bring about the final stage of the Great Separation, which you read in the article means their Armageddon. The processes that are to bring about these events are well begun. By the concerted efforts of the celestial forces, our leaders are doing everything they can to court the enmity of the nations of the old world, as chapter 17 of their book, Manisis Chronicles, tells us. All this is essential to bring about the glorious new Renaissance, the prophesied heaven on earth. So you go and you read this. Keep in mind, separate from the bullshit. And you just have to have it. You got to have that discernment. And you got to understand that you're not going to be given the full truth. The events that comprise this great separation that we just talked about are described symbolically in the Bible as the Battle of Armageddon. So there you go. And part of these prophecies, part of these plans, hoped for plans by them, the combined forces of the old world will unite and invade the U.S. in an attempt to destroy it. This will occur when countries around the world that America has been trying to stabilize and protect will suddenly join forces with more powerful countries traditionally opposed to the U.S. After much destruction, America is well nigh overcome. The celestial order above, whatever the fuck that is, will intervene at the 11th hour, save America by initiating earth changes that will destroy much of the old world. So, although the loss of life will be horrendous, the remaining survivors in America, abroad, and their progeny will have a unique and wonderful opportunity to bring about sweeping changes for the better at every level of earthly endeavor. Unparalleled peace and prosperity that will endure for 1,000 years. So we get that from a lot of these Bible bullshitters on the coming millennium. Hitler and his occultic interpretation of the scriptures that he, that the scripture that he perverted for his Nazi agenda, said that, got people to convince that, he was the coming Messiah, whatnot, who was going to bring about 1,000 years of peace. It's the same old horse shit played over and over and over. The celestial plan for America and eventually the entire world is for mankind to create a literal heaven on earth. And again, this is where it sounds nice. It sounds great. It sounds, like it's something that God is bringing about. The lower levels, or it's intended for the lower levels to think that when they're reading this. The Creator intends for all men and women to be free and to live in brotherhood, to treat each other with respect, help each other, most importantly, to grow spiritually. This is not the way of the world now, and in order for the world to ever reach such a lofty state, it is necessary to remove the so-called chaff for a time and permit the wheat to work towards ascend unhindered. The chaff, and this is their bullshit, symbolic language, mumbo jumbo. The chaff will be held back from reincarnating for 1,000 years or more, given the wheat sufficient time to rebuild after the devastation and shape the world into a better place. After sufficient time has passed to give the wheat enough of a head start, the chaff will be allowed to reincarnate in what will be a far better world. It is hoped that when the chaff is reborn into this positive environment, they will abandon their former ways and embrace that which is good. Good for them. The world is moving ever closer to the great separation. The terrorist attacks on America, I'm kind of skipping a little bit. The terrorist attacks on America, the resulting global war on terrorism, the loss of support from traditional allies, the growing enmity from abroad concerning Americans, interventionist foreign policy, the growing strength of powerful adversaries such as China, and the diffusion of American military force abroad are all steps toward the culmination of the prophecies. The prophecies. Your scripted prophecies. Your scripted plans. And I'm going to skip down to here. Those that take comfort in America's military might should think again. To me, this is very juicy. Just, again, discern when you're reading this. These celestial beings can easily bring leaders to power and manipulate them so as to serve divine purposes. That sounds like the Illuminati behind the scenes, right? Manipulating the leaders in power, bring them to power. So it's the puppet string holders, the puppet masters. Manipulate these leaders so as to serve divine purposes. So they justify themselves with behind the scenes of doing all this. What they're doing is, well, if it serves, if we are to create our new Jerusalem, it's necessary to create this Armageddon. So yeah, it's totally okay to, manipulate these world leaders and blah, blah, blah. And this person, this initiate cites the Cuban Missile Crisis as an example on how these celestial beings really wanted something, good to come out of it, that didn't involve getting into a war. Not by President Kennedy's credit, but to the credit aided by the Celestials. So, Fortunately, the Celestials desired a positive outcome with respect to the Great Separation or their staged Armageddon. The Celestials will be working toward bringing about the final battle so as to prepare the way for a better world. Blah, blah, blah. Well, and, you have a series of... I don't know why they put 2 before 1, but this one doesn't have much anyway. It's just mumbo-jumbo in it. So... according to Man Isis, prior to the birth of America, the celestial beings lost hope that the nations of the world would evolve into spiritually advanced societies. Even the best of the old world nations cannot rise above endless racial, ethnic, nationalistic, and religious strife or downright moral decadence so as to have any realistic possibility of eventually bringing the earth into a heavenly state. All of the nations and peoples of the old world were tried over many centuries and in every instance were found wanting. As a result, the celestial beings devised a bold plan. The celestials determined to give mankind one last chance. Their plan was to create a new nation using only the most spiritually advanced souls from the old world under a constitution patterned after celestial law. That nation, of course, is the United States. Many of the founding fathers were highly advanced souls that reincarnated during the time of the Revolutionary War and the ratification of the Constitution, so that they could take part in implementing this grand plan. That the founding fathers believed in America's special purpose is revealed by the motto Novus Ordo Seclorum, which to this day appears on the back of the $1 bill. This phrase is translated as a new select order or a new order of the centuries. Yeah, so... and you can, like I said, go read, I don't know what else I can do at this point, once you go down this rabbit hole this deep, there's really not much else to cover, I suppose. We kind of know what's probably going to be going on here. They're going to be working towards their staged Armageddon, and this is another book of theirs that... and I meant to talk. I want to make a video on this subject, but I borrowed this book out to a couple of people that appeared to be, people that were interested in the research. What's going on here? Come on. So I guess it's going to be all screwy on me, right? No. Anyways, looks like I gotta go back. This is stupid. But I borrowed this book out. It's really expensive now. I think it's this one that I got. It's not loading for me. I guess the Illuminati don't want me to show you this. But in this book, it talks all about this coming new world order. I've showed the quote before, but it can't be overdone. This has got to be brought home over and over and over. It's and countless videos where I show this, because that's the only way we have any shot and chance. You know, I don't just spend time on his YouTube putting out this info. I talk to many people on the street, at work, and I show, and thanks to having a phone now, I kind of show people this stuff. Yeah. Very, very interesting. Okay. Well, whatever. I wonder where this one will work. No? I mean, I got the Wi-Fi on. Should I turn it off? I wonder if that'll work then. I guess I'm wasting my time, I suppose. But it's this book right here. Wonder if it'll let me go on through here, if it'll... Yeah, just be black. We're not gonna let him, show people the truth that it's not a conspiracy theory. Anyways, in this book here, put out by these Illuminati guys, R. Swimer Clymer, Grace Kincaid Maury, member of the Conclave, Knights of Chivalry, The Great Work. It talks all about, it's a snippet from the book. Yeah. But anyways, interesting. I think I might save this. I didn't know anything about this. Mystic Americanism series, huh? I'm going to save that. But this is their website here. It's this book right here. Yeah. And I was going to tell you that and I kind of didn't finish. There was a couple people that seemed legit, took a look at my books and came over one night, and one of them was very interested in the books that I had, and I showed them and got a hold of this one. I was reading it, got very interested in it, wanted to borrow it. And I don't know what I was thinking, because, this is a pretty important book, and, and proving to people that all this Illuminati and New World Order stuff is legit, and, there's an actual Illuminati organization that I can prove exists. And when I borrowed this book out, didn't hear anything from neither of them, tried calling them, tried getting a hold of them, gone. And interestingly, the first time I shared this book online, the price of this book went up from only $20-something, I think it was like $25 when I got it, to I think $200 first. Now I went from $200 to $1,200. Maybe because there's only 2 left in stock. I don't know. Found it interesting via YouTube viewer that watched that video, because I told him he could just buy the book at Amazon. They raised the price of that book up to $200 not too long after putting that video out. A viewer let me know that. So it's quite clear that these people were watching my YouTube channel and didn't want other people checking that book out for free, or not for free, sorry, checking that book out for like $25. So I'm guessing that's why they raised up the book to $200. And now, since there's only a few left, they raised it up to $1,200, which not many people are going to, buy a book like that for that much. Not that nuts. I can even show you Well, I'm getting a little bit more views at least. Sometimes I'm not sure if I'm being shadow banned. Just seems like I have all these subscribers, I would get at least a little bit more views, but they're oldest. Trying to remember what video it is. I think that it's this one. And I was reading from his book. This guy right here is Silence Do-Good. And he had a lot more comments. He got rid of some, a bunch. He edited some. But this guy just kind of popped up out of nowhere. He set up his YouTube channel not too long after I created my channel and started reading from their books. That gave me the idea. And he had a lot more videos on here. He just has these two now, but he put up a whole bunch of weird videos and stuff, and he just was following me everywhere on my YouTube whenever I'd make a video on reading from their books. I think he's stopped being around me after I think we got into it, or sort of got into it, or at least got into a debate over their own writings pushing Luciferianism. But this guy just pops up out of nowhere. I mean, you would have to have been, at least to some degree, watched online for them to just know that you're reading from one of their books, so he can set up a YouTube channel and then just follow you on your YouTube. This guy right here goes by the name of Silence Do-Good. I think he's referencing the Silence Do-Good letters of Benjamin Franklin. Go listen to this. Prediction by U.S. Secret Society of 7-year period. You have the eclipsed sun, and that's a lot of New World Order symbolism right there.
So Reverend Curley touched on the eclipse, and since I've had so many questions about the eclipse since it occurred,
very interesting. So you can listen to that if you like. But he was just doing a lot of, subtle, sneaky things. He wasn't telling me he was a member until he started putting up videos showing with all the books that he has and talking about how he's a big fan. And then he went from there to saying he is a part of the order. Then he deleted his comment and just told me that, he knows a lot about it, whatever, So yeah. And I'm trying to work on me saying drives me nuts. But I think that I have a little bit of it's not stage fright, it's not camera fright. I think I get nervous when I'm on here. I'm a lot more smoother if I'm talking like one-on-one to somebody without this phone. And sometimes I notice with some of these videos I make, I tend to kind of freeze up a little bit more. I get a little bit nervous. I'm working on that. I'm a work in progress, so forgive me if I sometimes do what I just did right there. Have a pause and I go a lot, and I go, You click on him, and he's James R. Phelps. He was Hierophant of the Illuminati, so they do have an Illuminati within this order. Of course, they claim it's not the Bavarian Illuminati, of course. But they would tell us the truth, right? Of course they would. And you go to their other writings, R. Swinburne Clymer. That's unless archive doesn't show me the books, doesn't load it for me. Son of God, the Eighth Mysteries, not the Way to Life. It's this one right here. I wanted to show it because, of course, we got the Bible prophecy. Oh, it shows it here. But, oh, what's that? Oh, it's Temple of Illuminati. Of course, in their outer writings, it's all Christian and they love everybody. Temple of Illuminati, the all-seeing eye there. There shall be a new heaven and a new earth. That's their another way of saying there shall be a new world order. 1914, R. Swinburne Clymer, Philosophical Publishing Company. I called this organization too. I so have the stomach for all this stuff that I literally do not get afraid of any of it. And maybe I should, because there's just sometimes I do something and then later on, and about 10, I go, what the hell are you thinking? These people could probably follow you or something, or harass you if they feel that you're being a slight nuisance. I called this place, and because I had all these books and I just wanted to catch them in a few other lies, and I called them and I was like, hey, I have this book, 68th Convocation of the Rose Cross Order, which I can show you. And I was like, first I opened up without saying that. I told him, hey, so your secret society, does it mention an Illuminati in your writings? And the lady I think it was a lady, because this was like 11 years ago. And she's like, no, there's the terms illumination to refer to when somebody becomes, spiritually illuminated. And I go, that's interesting, because I have this book, 68th Convocation of the Rose Cross Order, this book right here, and it mentions the Illuminati in here that, and it also has us on the back of our dollar bill. Oh, it's just a conspiracy theory. And anyways, it was funny because she kind of just choked up a little bit and just kind of went, well, that's, I don't think you're reading that right. It's a illumination. So clearly they don't want a non-initiate, one of the profane, to call out in their own writings, them confessing an Illuminati within their organization. Not only that, but in their writings too. And I cited the quote to her. I'll show you that here in a second. This was on, they have an ancient grove of Osiris, right? For members of the Rose Cross Order. And at this meeting, of course, you got all these people here. I've showed this book, I think, once or twice on my channel too. Very, very important stuff. The Illuminati right here, and its soul science work may be called the child of the Rose Cross Order. Keep in mind in their writings, these articles do not give the inner work, but simply the outer, the public teachings. So what they're really all about, really truly all about, you're not going to get in here. But again, they're going to put hints of it, because they love to make sure that they have that, well, for us researchers, the catch me if you can kind of veiled, hidden in plain sight hints of their true agenda within these writings. So, I'll show you here in a moment. So I got off the phone with her, and I had called the Lucis Trust before to hound them. And lady was getting kind of pissed at me because I was pointing out, really juicy stuff out of Alice Bailey's writings. And, she kept wanting to gaslight and deny, and she didn't get away with it there. She finally ended the phone call, and I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking ever since then, I might have had some of these organizations kind of, I don't want to talk about the gang stalking thing that other people on the social media and the internet here talk about, because I think some of them might, but then I don't know. It could be true. Some of them might be a little extra paranoid, but I've looked a little bit into it, and I have seen some truth regarding some of these gang stalking situations that people, I just think there's a lot of people talking about it and actually showing some footage, and it is pretty interesting, showing that that might actually be going on. I don't know. I know it's happened to me online a couple of times, as I showed you with that Silence Do Good, how he just conveniently knew I was reading from one of their books, and he sets up a YouTube channel not too long after putting out that video, reading from that book, pretending to not be a member, but then finding out he was a member. Yeah. So, but at this convocation, under the authority of the Rose Cross, founded in America 1858, prominent delegates of the order gathered in the remarkable conclave held during the last 5,000 years, the publication of whose records now opens to the world the connection of Egypt in her ages of true religion, power, and glory with the mystic seal of the United States, whose heraldic symbolism declaring the mighty destiny of America has until now only been known to a limited number. That'd be at Beverly Hall in the beautiful Tohican Valley, about 4 miles from the town of Quakertown. Men and women of all ranks of life from all parts of the world, high Masons, members of the Eastern Star, physicians, teachers, and authors, and members of all denominations, repeat that again, members of all denominations, inclusive of the Hebrew, assembled at the call of the Grand Master of the Rose Cross Order for the 68th convocation. So there you go. And I'll give you an example on how they kind of write how they write this shit out, to where they kind of reveal sort of to where they reveal themselves, a true agenda, a little bit veiled in their writings. They just love to add that in. On this part of the introduction to the Great Seal, she talks about the pyramid and the all-seeing eye, whatnot. If the student will give serious study to the article on the seal of the United States, he will find that on the reverse side of the seal, which is as yet uncut, there is to be found the pyramid, but with the capstone as yet not placed. Thus he will see that the philosophy of the Illuminati is the absolute and undeniable philosophy upon which these United States are founded, as is clearly indicated by our fourfold philosophy, by the drawings representing our philosophy, and by the drawings of the reverse side of the United States seal. Thus it would appear that the unseen hierarchies which shape the foundation of the great republic, which must someday rule the world, are the same hierarchies which gave us the soul science philosophy as taught by the Illuminati. So you can read that. And Bill Cooper read this. This was where I first learned of this book and organization, thanks to Bill Cooper. He did put out some really good stuff amidst some of the disinformation. So there's a counterfeit Christianity these Illuminati guys have. So it's not far-fetched. The Knights Templars, they were outwardly Christian knights, at least in the outer sense. In the inner, it was something different. Worshiping the Baphomet, doing all kinds of depravities and atrocities, whatnot. So you can read that. But there's another section in this book, though, that I wanted to Brotherhood of Man, another. America is divinely appointed to God. Sounds like the Christian right wing, don't it? Controlled opposition. But there's a quote in here. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be wasting your guys' time. Where, they do call their New World Order the New Jerusalem. And I wanted to, like I said, I want every one of my videos to be able to be to where you can't discredit it. I am sorry for repeating these things on my channel, but it's more than worth it. And I seem to be Oh, sorry, I'm in my car doing this video. It kind of made me nervous. There's someone pulling out of their driveway. Truck. So, yeah, I guess it's this one. I guess I skipped a chapter. Didn't realize it. Sorry about that. I'll just read on page 44. Sorry. And anyways, these quotes are worth it. Very important. And show that while I don't have a big old fancy studio and I'm not big O and popular, there's one thing I do have that I can always look back on and still be happy with, is the fact that all the info that I do have and share, thanks to other people who have done their hard work and research too, can't be discredited. This can't be a conspiracy theory right here. It's from their own books. The all-seeing eye looks down upon the ancient pyramid, which too symbolizes America and all she must mean to the world, out of a glory, sign of the descent of the New Jerusalem. This emblem, the eye, is as old as man's appearance upon earth, being found upon ancient Chaldean monuments, Egyptian and Greek, while the Arabians, looking upon it, named the highest and holiest name of God with hushed voices and whispered, I am that I am. The triangle about the eye stood from the most arcane times as the emblem of the Trinity of Osiris, Isis, and Horus, Father, Holy Ghost, and Son, as they stand today with us, and in which is sealed the law of the eternal three of the universe and of men as its highest product. I will guide thee with mine eye, whatever. Although writing is as old as Atlantis, and Adam, the only legend set in the Great Pyramid, is esoteric in numbers, measures, and weights, and in them may be read the ages just completed and the prophecy of those yet to come, the Bible prophecy bullshit. Of these great ages, each with its leader as set forth in the application of the legend to the, quote, stone kingdom cut out without hands, unquote. The greatest of all was the master initiate, Jesus, who became the Christ, who descended into the grave and rising ascended master over death into heaven before the eyes of his disciples. Him especially, in the return of the Christ age, does the white copestone represent. And that's not the Christ of the Bible that they're talking about there. It's the Christ as an office that each initiate can attain to when he becomes Christed or becomes his own God through the process of initiation. And after him, America, as exponent of his teaching and life, America now prepares to become the headstone of all the world's ages, when God and the Christ shall descend to crown the edifice of human liberty and immortality completed. Once more, the morning stars shall sing together, and the sons of God shout for joy. Architecture, mystic numbers, heraldry, and the heavens themselves are telling the great race in America of their destiny and responsibility. As the head, body, and limbs of the great image, made of different metals, represented each messianic age, a new truth, and an empire directly relating to some manifestation of that truth, so must America represent the white stone, a nation fashioning itself until it shall have obtained the messiahship over all nations, overshadowing all that has preceded it. This cannot be accomplished until each citizen shall throw aside the veil which lieth over his face, shall no longer see through the glass darkly, but face to face, when Judah shall no longer vex Israel, nor Israel envy Judah, but prepare to come together into that land which the Lord has given them for an inheritance forever. The time has come, spoken of by Isaiah the prophet, a Bible prophecy, when though the learned cannot read the book because it is sealed, nor the unlearned because he is unlettered, yet shall the book be unsealed. For the ancient wisdom applies to the individual in his following of the Christ, in his quest of the Holy Grail, in the drinking of the cup of unselfishness, of his love for his neighbor, and the stranger within the gates of our own Ellis Island, that the stranger may grow to the light of this republic or carry its torch to other lands. Each fortune heir of this glorious inheritance must seek the white stone which crowns the pyramid within himself in body, mind, and soul, the holy trinity of each son of God. Then may America realize her destiny as a city set upon a hill, a star that shall never go down, and the world ruler that shall call down the light of the new Jerusalem upon the battle-scarred earth, the Christ, to rule for 1,000 years. There you go with that 1,000 years again. And now that archive is working, I'm going to try this again. Yep, this one right here. The 1773 seal of the Rosicrucian Brotherhood. The light which shining from the councils of our brotherhood shall illuminate all the world. A light which spoken into existence by the voice of God shall do the work of God in every human heart. The Brotherhood of the Rosy Cross. In the fall of 1922, a number of people were asked to assist in the writing of the Mystic Americanism lessons that the arcane philosophy sealed in the national emblems of our republic might be brought forth and America be able to face the world unafraid, clothed in her majesty and power, capable of fulfilling her destiny as healer of the nations. And he read in that previous book that it's America, at least the agenda that they have, is to make America the world ruler, the Messiah, obtaining the Messiahship over all the nations. Amazement, incredulity, and indifference were expressed by the majority of those invited to this honor, among whom were college graduates and members of orders whose fine moral teachings are veiled in symbology. For these and for the average mind, the skies are but trackless starry spaces devoid of meaning, and the heavens do not declare the glory of the path of the soul in its search for the Holy Grail. Symbolism is a lost art, although unconsciously we daily live and teach it. We may well say with Isaiah, quote, "In the vision of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed, which men deliver to one that is learned, saying, Read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I cannot, for it is sealed. And the book is delivered to him that is not learned, saying, Read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I am not learned," unquote. Isaiah 29:11-12. The difficult task of unsealing the book involves the reunion of science and religion, and I went over this with previous videos. That's the agenda of the mystery schools, recovering that which was lost, the reunification of what they feel was lost with religion, because after the fall of the mystery religions, they feel science and religion split off, and the one became materialistic to materialistic science without and what they call spiritual, and religion took on the far other end of the spectrum, which is just superstition, ignorant superstition, the exoteric misinterpretation of true religion, the Christ and the bride, at the Kabbalic point where, listen to this, esoteric Judaism, Christianity, and Masonry converge. For here is restored the wisdom of the elder golden age. The golden age is another term for their new world order when Enoch walked with God. We therefore start upon its way, this the philosophy of our national emblems, as that philosophy was originally laid down in 1776, as it was given in the dawn, and as it has since been maintained by those who guard the souls of Israel down the Aryan cycle. These souls, whose names were written in the book of life, must now prove the leaders in all nations for the last battle with the serpent, and become the defenders of the woman who long ago fled to the wilderness. Listening, waiting, and seeking throughout the earth, may they recognize the ancient teaching of personal responsibility to God and arm afresh for the last wars of Armageddon, both within and without. And, R. Swimer Clymer, Beverly Hall, Pennsylvania. You can read the rest. But I wanted to, very interesting book still, full of good stuff in it. But right around page 222, I read from here for so much. And like I said, it'll never be overdone, because to me, this is something that I found by buying this book. And once I read that, I went, oh man, this is one of the juiciest things I've ever read from the Secret Society's own mouths. A couple more pages. Okay. This is page 223. The renewal of the vows of brotherhood in the priesthood. Now listen carefully with this one, if those that haven't saw my previous videos reading from this. We have entered this new cycle, the new age, wherein there is a new interpretation and application of the old laws. In this new age now before us, every man must assume personal responsibility without the thought of evasion for all his acts, and must accept the fact of a karmic reaction for all he does. No longer is it possible for man to place the responsibility for his evil actions upon his fellow man, nor upon a world savior. He alone is guilty. He alone must pay the penalty imposed upon his own soul. Listen to this. This is the age of a new world order, the establishment of brotherhood, and the elimination of all retarding forces. The new age is upon us. Either we harmonize with it and its laws, or we shall be destroyed by it. Our is the choice. There you go. This is what all this shit that's going on is all about. These are the groups responsible. Not all the Muslims, not all the Jews, not all the Christians. Those groups are being used by these adepts of these various secret societies controlled by the Illuminati. I also have something from Manly P. Hall. I'm going to be getting into a little bit of Bible prophecy stuff, some Lucis Trust I've been reading up on, trying to keep up with just countless subjects of research. I want to get back into a little bit of the occult because that's at the source of what's going on. Another quote concerning the initiates attempting to fulfill Bible prophecy is a book from Manly P. Hall, 33rd degree Freemason of the Scottish Rite, who Masons say is was Freemasonry's greatest scholar. Openly talked of in his books of a coming new world order with the initiates ruling it. If you can read this. This is his commentary, whatever, on this drawing of John's vision of the New Jerusalem from Klauber's, I can't pronounce that, whatever. In the upper left-hand corner is shown the destruction of Babylon, also the angel, which casts the great millstone into the sea, saying, "Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down and shall be found no more at all." Below is the horseman, called Faithful and True, casting the beast into the bottomless pit. At the lower right is the angel with the key to the bottomless pit, who with a great chain binds Satan for 1,000 years. 1,000 years, 1,000 years, 1,000 years. In the heavens above is represented one like unto the Son of Man, who carries a great sickle with which he reaps the harvest of the world. In the center is the holy city, the New Jerusalem, with its 12 gates and the mountain of the Lamb rising in the midst thereof. From the throne of the Lamb pours the great river of crystal, or living water, signifying the spiritual doctrine. Upon all who discover and drink of its waters are conferred immortality. Kneeling upon a high cliff, St. John gazes down upon the mystic city, the archetype of the perfect civilization yet to be. Above the New Jerusalem, in a great sunburst of glory, is the throne of the Ancient One, which is the light of those who dwell in the matchless empire of the Spirit. Beyond the recognition of the uninitiated world is an ever-increasing aggregation composed of the spiritual elect. Though they walk the earth as ordinary mortals, they are of a world apart, and through their ceaseless efforts, The kingdom of God is being slowly but surely established upon earth. These illumined souls are the builders of the New Jerusalem, and their bodies are the living stones in its walls. Lighted by the torch of truth, they carry on their work. Through their activities, the golden age, again, there you go, proof that the golden age and kingdom of God, New Jerusalem, New World Order, brotherhood, universal brotherhood, all the same. The golden age will return to the earth and the power of sin and death will be destroyed. For this reason, they declare that virtuous and illumined men, it's Illuminati, instead of ascending to heaven, will bring heaven down and establish it in the midst of earth itself. There you go. Manly P. Hall, and that's page 623, in case you want to go get that book yourself and read that. There's a lot more other stuff he puts in this book. Also, Mr. Manly P. Hall. America's Assignment with Destiny. You can read this on Internet Archive. Those desiring substantial evidence of the unfoldment of the Great Plan should follow the suggestion inscribed upon the monument to Christopher Wren in St. Paul's Cathedral and gaze about them. The rapid advancement in the social and political states of man, the increasing richness of human living, and the broadening vision toward individual and collective responsibility herald with aureole colors the rising sun of truth. There is much yet to be accomplished, but already the achievement is impressive. Even the most devout humanist cannot survey the orderly progress of the race and at the same time deny the existence of a well-integrated program. The light of the ancient Vedas is slowly but surely illuminating the whole world. The vision of man's noble destiny and the sacred sciences which made possible the realization of that vision have been guarded and served by, quote, the silent ones of the earth, unquote. The priesthoods of the sacerdotal colleges, the hierophants of the mystery schools, the adept masters of the secret societies have been the guardians of man's noblest purpose, the perfection of his own kind. I mean, you go and read this. I didn't want to read the whole thing. I think I first heard this from Bill Cooper, and then I went and got the book and I read it for myself. So, that's already been done. But I really wanted to, again, another quote from another one. Adepts of the mystery schools working behind the scenes. There's a great plan. So I had the article with me. There we go. Okay. So, this came out about a week after, 11 days after it started, the Israel-Hamas war and the New World Order. So the intention isn't to read this article, but the intention is the headline itself. We know it has to play in with their New World Order. Like I said, this isn't for you guys that already know all this stuff. Some of it might be, in case you were unfamiliar with some of those books I showed. A lot of it was, it's for the people, if you ever want to show somebody, hey, there's this guy who shows all this info that's pretty legit, you can't discredit. Here's this channel and so forth. And what I show makes it undeniable. I also want to do another video on weather warfare. I'm going to get to that soon too. But this will suffice for now. I'm going to do a little bit on the mystery schools again, kind of. So take care.